What is gold's? I've been
Gold's
looking that
gold's
up.
amazing.
What
Type
is
3 gold?
flexural strength of gold?
Flexural
Right?
strength for metals is different.
Yeah.
There's a different ISO and ASTM standard
Right.
that don't translate over to the polymer world.
Sure.
But it's people always think that, hey, maybe 3D printing is more like a gold than it is a ceramic because of the way that the mechanical properties are.
Gold is good, right? In dentistry, gold
good.
is.
Gold is
People
so good.
love.
But gold is soft.
It is soft.
That means more wear.
It means over time you get adaptation.
Yeah.
With the whatever the environment.
You'll get like a little bit of a wear, like it gives, it wears, it changes, it's dynamic versus like the immovable rock in the mouth, like that would be zirconia, right? Zirconia would be like the thing that never changes, it doesn't give, it doesn't flex, it doesn't wear. It's like, the immovable rock in a sea of dynamic teeth.
Yes,
Teeth move, teeth wear, they flex, they give. And so there's a whole philosophy of we don't really need zirconia. We need something in between. And that's where, other glass ceramics come into play. They have similar properties to enamel and dentin. And that's where the highly filled glass resins come in.
Too. Yeah.
They come in to be very similar to natural tooth.
Yeah, because they're not brittle, right? Like I think that's the beauty
Biggest
of gold,
difference.
and kind of as
It's
you,
not brittle at all.
yeah, when you transition
Super malleable.
from gold to like PFMs and stuff, and porcelain's like flying off, hitting grandma in the face. It's because cases weren't planned right, and we as doctors were just used to gold kind of making up for some of those misplannings on our end, and so
Gold's amazing.
Gold's amazing. Why it went out of day-to-day practice? Price?
Well, it's really
That's one.
sad. It's also the type of dentistry that was done with gold. So the profession in the United States in the 60s, 50s and 60s and early 70s was largely partial coverage based. So like let's say you broke a cusp on your tooth or you had a defect, the standard of care would be a gold partial coverage restoration, an onlay, or an overlay or an inlay or 3/4 or 7/8 crown. And these were intricate, beautiful things that were burnished in place. Probably nothing better or quite like it since. And so what happened, though, was the age of aesthetic dentistry, if you will, PFMs. So PFMs in the 70s and 80s hit super hard. And what happened, we as a profession, number one, forgot how to be conservative. And everything was a crown, and everything had margins tucked below the tissue. So you hide those unsightly seams, if you will, the margins. And the age of the PFM, I think, in a lot of ways, destroyed dentistry. It made us basically give our patients two options. You could have a filling or you could have a crown, and there's nothing in between, and that's what you get. And it's really hasn't been until modern adhesive dentistry where dentists now are starting to take a look and say, wait a minute, there's something that exists between a filling and a crown, something that we could do through the power of especially same-day dentistry, where we could just digitally design your cusp, and we could bond a new cusp back on instead of grinding your whole tooth down
And putting
and there's not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with crowns. I think it's a great service for your patients, but anytime we as professionals could do something more conservative that has the same clinical outcome,
You should do it.
we should do it.
How did they bond how do you bond gold to the enamel?
Oh, that's the thing. So what they had to do is cut mechanical retention into the tooth.
Like
Slots,
really like
boxes,
slots.
grooves, bevels.
And what was the cement in the 50s?
zinc phosphate and polycarboxylate and things like
They
that.
work, right?
They,
And they,
you know
they
what?
work.
Listen, the cement after 30 years will eventually wash out, but
But
they
you-
it doesn't matter because you just push on the gold and the margins completely
burnish
imperceptible.
those margins. It's insane. It's great. It's
Beautiful.
great dentistry. I will never, ever say that it's not. And I think the 3D printed restoration of today can be the gold restoration of this generation, the more conservative option for patients, but
Adaptive.
the more adaptive
Yep.
option.
It's a new
Exactly.
term I learned today.
Yeah.
So PFM really killed gold? Is that
I
the
think
right
so.
way of saying
I
that?
think so. Because
That and increasing aesthetic demands.
increasing
And then
aesthetic
PFM is what? Chrome cobalt
well,
coping and the ceramic?
There's all
Is it?
kind of different copings.
you could have a precious alloy. Gold, platinum, palladium alloy is typical. gold, palladium, gold, platinum, palladium, and then
That's on the coping.
that's the
Yeah.
coping. And then if you got super cheap, you could do cobalt chrome. Those are like, basically a car bumper.
How does it bond to the porcelain on the top?
There's van der Waals interactions, and then
really?
there's and so what happens is the thermal diffusivity of the metal is different than the porcelain. So when they cool after you fire them together, it puts the porcelain under compression because it kind of sucks
I
it down
see.
to the metal almost. That combined with micromechanical and van der Waals interactions, it's a good bond. It did break every now and then, especially in bruxers and you had delaminations, or if you had unsupported porcelain, because those van der Waals interactions only work for 2 millimeters, and then after the 2 millimeters, it's gone. So
It's
anytime you
gone.
have like an overhang of porcelain sticking way out, that'll just shear off because it's feldspathic porcelain, super weak. Like flexural strength is 60 to 80 megapascals.